We are back with another video today, and this is going to be the fourth video of the Key Attackers War Series. We're going to be going over the Cosmic class today. Again, for this, we have three tiers. Tier 1, Critical Attackers. These are the ones assigned a majority of the wars, sometimes multiple assigned in a single war, and then ideally you want to have 3 to 4 of these champs per battle group. Tier 2, these are the important attackers, signed multiple times per season. Optimal option for many fights on the war map, and then ideally you want to have 2 to 3 of these per BG. And then Tier 3, we have the nice to have group. These are the rarely assigned champs each season. Maybe 1 per BG is usually enough. And then unique circumstances lead to their assignment, unique node combination, bans. These are the kind of things that lead to them being assigned more often. Again, this video is for tactic agnostic, so I'm not taking into account any tactics, not the current one, not the past one, not the future ones. So this is just these attackers on the war map. Starting with Tier 1 for Cosmic, and Cosmic is a class that a lot of people really like. It's not my favorite class personally, but there are some really good champs in here, and we're going to start with one of the newest champs of the class, Deathless Thanos. Deathless Thanos has immunity, a unique set of immunities, being immune to Cold Snap and Poison. He has easy intercepts with his Counterpunch. He is also able to apply an Armor Break and Armor Shatter very easily. He has a passive stun mid-combo, which makes it easy for knockdowns. He has Energize, which makes it very easy for him to get to specials rolling. And then he has a Panic debuff as well, which counters Evade and Miss, which is very nice. And then he has great damage. He has very big damage. You stack stack some Furies from his special 1s, then you throw the special 2, and his damage is really strong. So really good champion. I expect him to be used quite frequently, and again, that immunity set is very unique, which is nice to have. Next up, we're going to go to another newer 7-star, Medusa. Medusa is poison immune. She has Armor Break, which can turn to Armor Shatter. This is very strong against robots. Once she has the Armor Shatter up, she basically shuts off all their abilities, reduces their power gain, combat power gain, and everything. So she's great against robots. Again, robots that can be armor broken. If they're armor break immune, she's not good. So like Sentinel, not good for her. She also has true accuracy on her specials. So you throw the special 1, you get your true accuracy, and you counter evade and auto block, which is very nice to have as well. And then she has good bleed damage over time once you get things rolling. But she's a really strong champ, very simple to use, and really good across the map. Next up, we have Maestro, and this one's probably a bit debatable because I haven't assigned Maestro a ton in the past, but with his big set of immunities, it is going to make him quite a bit more popular. He's immune to Poison, Shock, and Incinerate, which is a pretty unique trio. And then he has great red damage and burst damage, which gets around Safeguard, and then he has Glancing as well, which makes him extremely tanky, so he's very, very sustainable. I think with those immunities and then just how safe he is to use, he's going to be very good. Now that people have the dupe as well, it helps his damage quite a bit because it allows him to basically pause his Furies. So you can keep the Furies rolling the whole fight. And yeah, I just think he's going to be really strong going into the new seasons, but we'll see how that ends up. I could see him moving down though as well, so I wouldn't be super surprised. And then the next champ is going to be Serpent, and this is the final one of Tier 1, and I'll talk about that a bit in Tier 2, some of the champs you might have expected to see or aren't going to see. And Serpent is a big riser, I think. He was not regularly used in War, and then when he became Tactic, he became very popular, and I think he's going to be a mainstay as a War attacker. Obviously, he's a menace on defense, but we're just looking at attack. And he has a lot of things going for him. He has Power Gain, which is very nice to have. It's very strong and allows him to throw a lot of specials. He has the Death Immunity, which is a great backup if you do get, pummeled in a fight. His True Focus on his special 1, actually I think it's any special, counters Evade and Miss, and that's super easy to keep. Once you throw one special, I think it stays up the entire fight. I won't look for that. double check that, but I'm pretty confident. Yeah, on activation, get indefinite true focus. So he has it up the whole fight once he throws one special, which is super beneficial. He is stun immune during defender special attacks. Now, this was when I actually was reading through his kit when I realized this. This can be very good for the encroaching stun node. As you know, the part where you get screwed is usually if they're mid special and you can't do anything. So if he's stun immune during their special, you don't have to worry about encroaching stun during that time period. And with his power gain, he's going to throw lots of specials, so very good for that node. He's also immune to heal block, power lock, special lock, and fate seal, which is very nice as well. Especially the heal block can be good for some of the nodes on path 4. And then his fear on the special one is also great. It prevents unblockable. So that's also really good. The one drawback of Serpent is he is a little bit slow on the damage side, so it does take a bit to ramp him up. But with all that utility, he is really good, and I expect to see him quite a bit. Now we're going to move to tier 2, and this isn't the order I wrote it in, but we'll start with the one that probably stands out, and it's going to be Hercules. Obviously, I think a lot of people would assume he's tier 1. For me, I think he's just fallen down a bit. He's an amazing champion, but it is punching up a lot. You don't see him assigned that much in tier 1 anymore, and maybe tier 1 masters, I should say. Maybe he's assigned more in other little bit down. I'm sure he's assigned a lot in lower tiers, but he is punching up quite a bit. He's obviously an amazing champion, though. He's stun immune once you get his feats of strength going, which is, again, super good. Again, also good for encroaching stun. He also has auto block, a miss and auto block counter on a special one with the True Sense, which is really nice. Super easy to access and maintain. He has tons of burst damage, obviously. The red damage is really nice. And then he can stack a lot of buffs with his special 1 and his special 2. But he's really good still. It's just, I just don't see him being assigned end as much anymore. He also can get easy intercepts with his Infuriate debuff he applies. But still a great champ, obviously. Still amazing. He's still the king of AQ. But for War, I just don't see him assigned that much. And as we get more rank 4s, I could see him just falling down more. Or not falling down to tier 2. But, you know, we'll see if he gets assigned a lot with the new season and the new map. Maybe I'm wrong and he could move back up to tier 1. So I wouldn't be surprised by that either. And now we're going to do a run of 6 stars. A lot of these would be, like Hercules, would be tier 1 if they were 7 stars. No other way to put it. We'll start with Galen. Galen is really good. He's also going to be much better with all the safeguard nodes because his red damage obviously gets past that. He has immunity to nullify and fate seal, which is really good. He has tons of buffs, which can be good for, you know, those rich get richer nodes and stuff like that. He is immune to power drain, burn, power lock, power drain, power burn, power lock, and special lock. So great immunities to have. He also ramps when he gets those immunities. You know, everyone uses him against Penny. He ramps super quickly, and you're able to throw the big specials with the burst damage from his planetary mass very easily. And again, like I talked about, he can get around Safeguard. He also has damage over time on the special 2 with the Incinerates, which is pretty potent. But the only thing holding Galen back is being released as a 7-star. I could see him being sooner than later. I would definitely expect him to be before the next champ we're going to talk about. But he is really good still. Very good on several spots on the map. Again, the Nullify and Fate Seal is really good for, you know, Power Snack and stuff like that. So, and as a Cosmic, it's pretty unique. Jumping to our next champ, Hulkling. Again, as a 7-star, he's tier 1, no question. He's shock and poison immune, which is a nice combo as well. Pretty unique. He is immune to power drain, power steal, power burn, which is also nice and beneficial. He has passive power gain when he gains buffs. So hitting into the defender's block, getting those pierce buffs. Even blocking attacks gets him power because he gets his, I think it's bulwark. So he's really good for those polka dot power ones. He used to be really commonly used for node 49 against onslaughts and stuff like that. But again, now he's punching up quite a bit, so you don't see him used as much for that. He's also easy openings because, you know, he hits into your block when he has his charges, and then he can get unblockable, which makes it very easy to get openings in against defenders. One drawback I'll say is he is hurt quite a bit by the power backs. A lot of times you could just spam special 2s, which was very nice. But I do think he's still plenty of damage and very good. But again, 7-star released, he goes right to tier 1. Without it, though, you just don't see him assigned that much anymore, just because of the punching up that he has to do. Next up is going to be Cosmic Ghost Rider. This is another one, obviously 6-star locked. He is still very good. He is also very much affected by power backs, but I'll talk about that in a bit. He has good immunities. Bleed and Incinerate is a nice combo. There's now a specific node that asks for Bleed and Incinerate immune. He has a very potent Fate Seal, or his Damnation, which is a Fate Seal, a Power Lock, and a Heal Block once he gets to his 5 Judgments, which is very good as well. He has Armor Break on right away versus villains, which is also nice. Killmonger, great counter. He can get Vigilance from a medium ender, which is very good as well. That gives him his... Which one does Vigilance do? Prevents miss, which is nice to have as well. And then his damage is outrageous. Now, a couple drawbacks of Cosmic Ghost Rider. The power backs is a drawback because you used to be able to just basically get to special 2, throw it, you're back at a special 2 or special 3, you throw it and the fight's over. With the power back change, he is not going to be as quick. There's no question on that. The other part, and my big issue with him, is his restrictive playstyle. You need to do a light ending combo to get the power gain. You need to do a full light ending combo, full combo, 5 hits, light ender, full 5 hits, medium ender. You need to get heavy in to get all of his judgments. Now, that can be very annoying, especially with some of these new nodes with the Footloose, the Mixmaster, those kind of things. It makes his restrictive playstyle, a bit frustrating. But he's still a great champ, and again, he will be very much used a lot again when he comes out as a 7-star, but right now he's assigned a couple times a season, is what I typically see. That is going to round out the 6 stars, so we're going to move to the 7 stars, and there is a lot in Tier 2. I think the Cosmic class has a bunch of really solid champs, just the high end they're lacking a bit right now, and again, a lot of it is because of the 6-star locks. But we're going to jump to another champ that's very much affected by the power back change, and that is going to be Corvus. Corvus has, while his Glaive's up, he's immune to Cold Snap, Bleed, Shock, and Frostbite, which is a very good set of combos. He can get a True Strike buff when he has Proxima, which can be good against countering Evade and Auto Block. And then he has massive damage, obviously. Obviously, with Corvus, you have to go get his charges built up by completing his missions. Those missions are taking down a tech champ, a Avenger, countering an Evade or Auto Block, and then I think the 4th one is Mutant. Yeah, use a heavy or special attack to knock down an opponent that is evaded or auto blocked in fight. Yeah, so those are the 4. Once you get all 4, his damage is beyond ridiculous. Especially if you have a rank 3, let alone if you have a rank 4, he will roll the map. Now, with the power backs, you used to basically just spam special 2s. I don't see it as being a big drawback for Corvus. All you have to do instead of getting right to your special 2 then going is get to, 2.5 bars of power, 2 3/4 bars of power. That'll get you really close to your next special 2. So 2.5 bars of power, you throw it, you're at 1.5 bars, do a couple combos, throw your other special 2. If you throw 2 special 2s with Corvus and in the correct matchup with enough of his missions complete, you're going to kill the defender 100%. So I still think he'll be very much used. A lot of Masters Alliances set up their map to stop Corvus, though. They won't place mutants very early or place tech champs or Avengers. Not that there's a bunch of Avengers placed on defense, but Alliances playing around him. So he's still very good, though, when he does get to roll through the map. Next, we have Null, one of my favorites. I think Null is very good champ. His true accuracy that he has right away on his medium, heavy, and special 1s allow him to prevent miss and evade. So that is very nice to have. And again, it's right away. So our auto block and evade, yep. So he's really good against that. He'll be good against Mixmaster. He also, unlike a lot of the Cosmic attackers, does not have a bunch of buffs, which I do see as a benefit. allows him to get around a lot of the nodes like Power Snack and other things like that. He'll be good for node 40 with his, countering Mixmaster, and then he doesn't have buffs, so you can kind of parry freely. He places a ton of heal block, or a ton of debuffs. He places his Corruption, which he can then turn into armor breaks. His special one, when he's in his Corruption, reduces the defender's combat power rate, so you can get a lot of intercepts. He has good degen damage, and he can do a lot of heal reversal as well because of all the debuffs he places. So Null is a really good champ. He also eats armor up buffs, which is also very nice. So yeah, really good champ. He does like high Sig ideally, but I mean, he's really good, so I think it's worth dumping Sigs into him. Next, we're going to go to Beta Ray Bill. His value has increased quite a bit lately with the release of Sentinels, one of the main reasons. And last Tactic, he was really good, even though he wasn't Tactic, because he has very easy to access Grit. Grit allows you to counter Unstoppable, and he has it by just throwing a heavy attack. And his Grit stays around a very long time and is very strong. So he has the Grit, which is fantastic. He has passive shock damage, so he doesn't need to apply any debuffs, which makes him good for some of those Masochism nodes or the nodes like node 38 where they shrug debuffs. His are all passive, doesn't have to worry about that. He gets big burst damage from his shocks. So you do the special, you hold charge heavy, throw the special 2, then you can just spam special 1s as the shocks are expiring, and the damage is really, really good. He also pulverizes armors, which is a really nice to have thing as well. And then he reduces the potency of bleed and poison debuffs as well. With his shock immunity and power drain immunity, can make him work for some of the hazard shift nodes as well to an extent. I wouldn't send him to a bleed one. I can't remember if there's a shock and poison node. I don't think there is, but if there was, he would be pretty good for that. But yeah, Bill's really good, and he's going to continue to be used. Again, that heavy with the Grit makes him really good for Sentinel and for Deathless Thanos, two of the trickier defenders released recently. Next, we have Vox. Vox is another really good champion. He is poison immune, and he has lots of buffs if you need them. He also has the Undermine, which allows him to get around auto block. And then that's on the special 1. And then he has Vigilance as well on the special 2. But he's really good against Arcade, which is one of the trickier defenders right now. With his rework, he's become quite a menace, and so he's really good against him. He's also immune to Power Burn, to Power Drain, to Power Lock, and a Special Lock. So another one of the Cosmics with all those immunities. His damage is also mostly damage over time, which makes him good for Safeguard, and it is degen damage, which very few champs are immune to. So he's a really good champion. I think he'll be used even more with the new map. And yeah, he's probably the best arcade counter, so he is also just going to be a regular staple for assignments because of that as well. Next up, we have Deathless Kangaroo, who probably would have been in tier 3 if not for his some of his interactions. His cleanse that he has allows him to actually remove severe debuffs, which is very different, and he's the only one who can do that as of today. So that is a very unique thing he has. He's also immune to bleed, to power drain, and power burn. He has easy access to armor break off his special 1, and he can maintain it for the entirety of the fight. And then he has good damage over time on the special 2, stacking those incinerates. So he's a really good champion. Again, being able to shrug the severe debuffs is very nice, and especially for the path 4 where there's 2 in a row. So I think he'll get a good amount of use because of that as well. He's a bit slow, in my opinion, but once he gets rolling, his damage is really solid. Next up, we have Angela. There she is. I'm pretty sure I have her. Angela is another champ whose value rose because of her ability to reduce debuff duration, damaging debuff duration. So with Max Sig, or not Max Sig, yeah, with Max Sig and then buffs, usually you want to throw her Odin's. She is really good for hazard shift. Again, the only one she's not good for is the bleed, because the bleed ones with the Deep Wounds Mastery, extend long enough, and then it does damage, so it can get very scary. So she kind of can do it, but not the best probably for the bleed ones. But all the other ones, she's really good with Max Sig. And then with the Max Sig, also she's Nullify. She prevents and nullifies from happening. And then he has auto block ability accuracy as well. So she can take that new node. What node is that? 3. The red buff 3 is 12. So he's really good for that as well. And then she can parry non-contact hits, which is also very nice and beneficial for certain champs like Negasonic. So really good utility there. She does like the Max Sig, and she usually does want to Odin, which is kind of a lot, but she can be very strong for Path 9. Oop. Sorry about that. Next and final one of tier 2 is going to be a champ I don't have, who I really want, and it's Scream. Scream is really good. She has reduction on armor up ability accuracy at Max Sig. Otherwise, it takes a little bit of ramp up, but she has it instantly at Max Sig, which is great against Path 4. Although a lot of Path 4 is gone now, but she's still really good against that. She has auto block counter, and she's able to maintain her Undermine very easily, so she's really good for that node. She has great burst damage to get around Safeguard, and she applies armor breaks and bleeds very easily. So really strong champ. I think she's going to get a good amount of use. She's another good counter for Arcade. Which is also really good, obviously, with the auto block counter. So she's a really strong champ. I think she'll be used quite a bit, and I really want one. We're now going to make our way to tier 3, and this video is going a bit long. There's a good amount in tier 3, and we're going to jump to Gladiator. I basically have to have Gladiator here, or else Mike will kick me. But he is pretty good. He has 100% armor up ability accuracy reduction when he has his Vigilance up. His Vigilance is dependent on Sig. I think there is a way to get it back, but he starts the fight. If you have high Sig, it lasts for 15 seconds, which is a good amount of time. And that Vigilance, obviously, like I said, gets around the armor up, but also prevents miss. So he's a good miss counter. He also has increased buff accuracy, so 200%. That means he should get around Neutralize, I believe. He's immune to Power Drain and Power Burn, which is nice as well. And then he has a good amount of passive damage, or not passive, damage over time with his Incinerate and Cold Snaps. He's also able to trigger Unstoppable very easily from a special one. He's able to trigger Unblockable once he gets his charges built up. And then he has an easy heavy knockdown where he can combo and do a heavy charge to get the knockdown. His unique way of doing damage while dashing in while their defender's throwing special attacks is a very challenging playstyle to do. I do not recommend that people try and do it in war unless you are very comfortable with it. But he has a lot of utility regardless, so he is a good champ, just not my favorite. And I guess in my battle group, he is assigned basically every war to Mike, but in other battle groups, he's very rarely assigned. So that's why I have him in tier 3. Next, we're going to go up to Venom. Venom, pretty simple champ. He has a lot of buffs. He has a very easy to access armor break on his heavy. He has good damage over time with his bleeds, and then he counters Spider-Verse champs. Spider-Verse Evade. So Spider-Verse champs evade. Yeah, Jesus. So those are basically what he has. You can change his buffs, but I think throwing the heavy also changes the buff you have. So he can kind of rotate his buffs. There's a good amount of buffs in there that are nice to have, and the armor up's there if you need it right away, but it's still risky doing that. But yeah, he's a good champ for the matchups he's supposed to do. He'll be good against Safeguard. That I don't see. He's not assigned that often. I very rarely sign him, but he is a good champ and he has good damage. Next, we have Hyperion. Again, not assigned super frequently, but he can be good for a lot of matchups. He's poison immune, which a lot of the Cosmics are poison immune, so that's not super unique. He has the power gain, though, buff that he has, and that is pretty potent. It allows him to do really well versus Node 49 because of the polka dot power. And then he has Incinerate damage, which does also really well on Node 49 because it allows him to spam Incinerates. He can stack a good amount of buffs with his heavy, getting the Furies rolling. Again, like I said, he has the power gain buff he gets. So pretty simple champ, but he's still very effective. But yeah, he's not assigned too often on my battle group, at least. I don't see him assigned that often in other ones either. Next, we have a champ that honestly just needs to be tested more. And he could move up depending on how bans look. But he is able to reduce the potency of shock, bleed, and incinerate. Now, I will say the one flaw of that is those exact 3 debuffs are the same 3 that Onslaught counters. Because of that, it's hard to imagine you would be like, we really need Superior Iron Man over Onslaught, unless there's I can't even think of a defender where you'd really want Sim over Onslaught. Even the tech ones, I mean, yeah, if there's a tech one, maybe you want Sim over Onslaught. But Onslaught obviously has the same immunities, and he benefits from having those debuffs on him even, so it's a little bit better. He also has it instantly, unlike Superior Iron Man, where he does need to get the buffs rolling, which he does get rolling quickly, but you still, you got to get the buffs going. He can parry non-contacts after a heavy attack, which is a bit odd way of doing it. I don't know why they just give him proper non-contact parry ability, but that's what they did. And then he gets lots of buffs. So, Rich Get Richer, he can benefit from that very well. He has very big damage once he gets rolling. But I'd like to see him used more on the hazard shift to really get a feel for it. If he is used a lot, obviously he'll move up, but we'll have to see how it goes. This one, I think he just needs to be used more and more before we really know how effective he can be. Next, we have Odin. Now, Odin, I would say, would probably not be on this list, except for a couple changes to the map. One is the auto block one. He can throw his special one, and then he gets True Strike. It's very easy to maintain that, but that counters evade and auto block. So not just the auto block node, but also the Mixmaster node, Odin would be pretty solid for as well. Well, not really on node 40 because you can't parry. But, you can still keep the True Strike up pretty easily. He has Energize, which allows him to gain power very easily. This makes him pretty strong for the strike counter, which also new thing back on the map, which is beneficial for him. Like I talked about earlier, the Safeguard, his special 2 does great burst damage, which gets around straight Safeguard. And then he also has pre-fights, which are super common. You use them all the time. So if he's already out there, might as well send him to some fights he can take. But I like Odin a lot. I think he'll be used, again, rarely, but there could be some easy assignments for him that just like, oh yeah, Odin works here, and he's already going to apply a pre-fight later on. So we'll see how often he's used, but I'd like Odin. Next, we have Terrax. Where's my Terrax? Terrax, he's a decent champ. He's Bleed and Shock Immune, which is I think he's one of the few that has that, although the Bleed and Shock Immune nodes were all taken out. No, I think there's still one Bleed and Shock. He's also immune to Power Drain, Power Steal, Power Block, Power Lock versus Metal champions. And then he has a very easy to access Armor Break. He has a big burst damage on his heavy when he stacks up a bunch of that stuff before his Storm thing ends. But yeah, he's a decent champ. You don't see him signed very often, but he can be used every now and then. And then last up, and I did slide this champ up last second. He was going to be an honorable mentions, but it's Gore. He is immune to heal block. He has very easy undermine to prevent auto block, which is nice to have. And then he applies a ton of debuffs, which can be good against Safeguard. But his damage is pretty low. So I can't imagine assigning him very often. But if there's enough bans, maybe he finds his way out there. But I know he was assigned a decent amount when he was Tactic. But I'm not the biggest fan of Gore. But I decided to move him up to tier 3 instead of having him honorable mentions. The honorable mentions is going to be quick one. There's not a lot here. Actually, I'm going to add one more right now. Gamora, she has pretty good damage. She's able to maintain her buffs very easily, and then she can counter. I thought she had a miss counter somewhere. If Gamora has 8 or more personal buffs, she cannot miss. Yes, so she can counter miss. And then she has the true strike damage. Or true. I thought she had. Yeah, so she has a true strike on her special 3, which that's pretty hard to get to. But yeah, her damage is really good. She can be used when she is Tactic. But again, I cannot imagine assigning her, so she's in the honorable mentions. Next, we have Captain Marvel movie. She has poison immunity, and then she gets her charges going. She gets her indestructible. You do want to have a decent. You want to have her awakened to do all that, and ideally pretty high sig to get the 12 seconds. But she can be very nuky. But again, not a champ I assign very often, and not one I see out there for many times in Tier 1 War. We then have Surfer. Again, Surfer has pseudo immunities versus Cold Snap, Incinerate, and Shock. It's just hard to imagine assigning him. The Cold Snap immunity is unique, but still, I just don't see it happening. His damage is pretty low as well. But yeah, he's a champion. A lot of people on rank 3 because of his prestige, but not someone I would want to assign or have assigned very much in the past. And then the final one's going to be Adam. I don't like Adam, so this is definitely some bias for me. I think his playstyle is very restrictive as well. And then with the AI, you really want to throw specials to keep, your I think it's sovereignty rolling, and the AI sucks right now. So I think for those reasons, I don't trust Adam in war. He does have unblockable damage, which is very nice, and he can create big, easy openings. His damage is really good while ramped, but I think Adam's good for, Abyss, Necro, stuff like that. On the war map, I'm not the biggest fan. He's good on defense, but yeah. So he's going to be an honorable mention as well. But that is it for this list. I will jump over to the Excel sheet so you can see them all together now. All right, and now here's our updated list. We're down to, we have 4 classes complete now, so just 2 more. But looking at the Cosmic, there's a lot in that tier 2, so that's why this video is very long. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, again with the Cosmic class, I think if they can get some of those good 6 stars moved up to 7 stars, then you will see them be very much on top as one of the best classes in the game. They are one of the best classes, but I mean very much as the best class in the game pretty quickly. But that is going to do it for this video. I should have out the next class video tomorrow. I think it's going to be Tech, and then Mystic will be the final one. But thanks. It's going to do it. Thank you for watching.